Well, good morning. Happy Monday to you. It is Monday, February 2nd. We are now into February, and thank you for joining me. I'm having a bit of a problem with my setup this morning, and so I'm a little bit frazzled, but I think we'll get through it. It's just, computer and technology, sometimes it's supposed to make things simpler, but sometimes it doesn't. And I think it's actually working. At the end of the last on Thursday of last week, there was definitely something going on. I think I fixed it, but I'm not entirely sure. So if anything strange happens to me, just post something in the comments, because there's some weird things going on in my computer right now.
I have no idea what. I have no idea. Okay, well, that's strange.
Okay, well, there you go. Just some weird stuff going on. All right, let's get into. So, did you have a good weekend? I had a good weekend. We had wonderful weather over the weekend. It was a little bit windy, but it was good. And yeah, I mean. Lots of exciting stuff going on in the world right now. So that's exciting. Yeah, that's all I can say. Birthdays. We have a birthday today. Liam Newton. Happy birthday to you. May you have a blessed day in the Lord. So I'll close that out, and I've closed that out. Yeah. So I think. Oh, let's try this. Okay. Let's go ahead and get into our study. We are in Deuteronomy chapter 4, and Deuteronomy chapter 4, we're learning about the history of Israel. Moses is describing the history of Israel, and then the Lord is about ready to prepare the Israelites to receive the Ten Commandments a second time. But before he gets to there, he's talking about some of the things that he's commanded. And so let's just pick up where we left off last time, which is verse 15. Verse 15 is right here. I hope this works. It may not work. Oh, no, it does. Okay. All right, here we go. You saw no form of any kind the day the Lord spoke to you at Horeb out of the fire. Therefore, watch yourselves very carefully so that you do not become corrupt and make yourself an idol, an image of any shape, whether formed like a man or a woman, or like any animal on earth, or any bird that flies in the air, or like any creature that moves along the ground, or any fish in the waters below. And when you look up to the sky and see the sun, the moon, and the stars, all the heavenly array, do not be enticed into bowing down to them and worshiping things the Lord your God has apportioned to all nations under heaven. But as for you, the Lord took you and brought you out of the iron smelting furnace, out of Egypt, to be a people of his inheritance, as you are now. So do not become corrupt and make yourselves any idol, in a form of an idol, whether it's a man or a woman or a bird or any animal on the earth or like any creature. And when you look up into the sky, do not be enticed into bowing down to them. Okay, so let's just talk about that, because one of the things that people who do not know God as the creator of the universe, then they will bow down and worship the created things of the universe. And that includes men and women and animals and those sort of things. They're so impressed by the creation that they bow down to creation, but they don't bow down to the creator of the creation. And we see this a lot in various religions throughout the world. There might be a religion that worships the tree or the flower or the sun or the moon or the stars. And they worship all of those things and they bow down to them because they're so wonderful. The sun is a wonderful thing. But is it better? You can bow down to the sun and say, I worship the sun, or you could worship the God behind the sun. and worship the creator and not the created. I remember years and years ago, we took our family to see. We went to a drive-in, I think it was. This is how long ago it was. And we saw the Disney movie Pocahontas, and you have Old Mother Tree, and in native religions, often. Well, I think in native religions, but in other religions, they'll worship the created, the tree, the old oak tree, or the rock, or the stone, or the sun, and because they're so impressive, they're worthy of garnering our attention and saying this is an awesome thing. And there's a temptation to bow down before those things. For example, in the Egyptian religions, they worship the sun god, right? They worship the sun god, but they worship the sun itself. It's so bright, it's so powerful. It bears down on you in the summertime, and yet it keeps you warm in the wintertime. And so that's a wonderful thing to bow down to. But what God says is, I made that sun. So don't bow down to the sun, bow down to me, the creator of the sun, the creator of the moons, creator of the stars. Okay, you get the point. And I think, when I was growing up, I don't know if they call them this anymore, but people who respect and want to protect the environment, which is a good thing. Sometimes they call them tree huggers, right? They hug the tree and they love the tree. Do they worship the tree? I have no idea. I'm not part of that group. But it's very, very dangerous and very easy and very alluring to hug the tree and to worship the tree and to love the tree, but not the God of the universe that created the tree. And that's what God is talking about. All right, enough of that. Okay. And he said, I brought you out of the smelting iron furnace of you. That's a great analogy of what it was like in slavery. It's like a furnace. It's like Phoenix in the summertime. If you've ever lived in Phoenix, I grew up in Phoenix, loved Phoenix. Phoenix is all about the water. If you have a swimming pool or access to a swimming pool, Phoenix is very, very tolerable, because when it's too hot, you just go out of the swimming pool or you stay inside in the air conditioning. Those are the two things you do. But if you're neither of those, if you're not in the swimming pool and you are not in air conditioning and you are out August 1st in Phoenix, even people who live in Vail understand heat, but they do not understand heat like a Phoenix heat. I'll tell you that. It's like a furnace, right? That's what it was like to be in slavery in Egypt. Phoenix August 1st. Unless it's monsoon season, in which case it's Phoenix August 1st and hot and moist, which is kind of even worse. Verse 21. The Lord was angry with me because of you, and he solemnly swore that I would not cross the Jordan and enter the good land the Lord your God has given you as an inheritance. I will die in this land. I will not cross the Jordan, but you are about to cross over and take possession of that good land. Be careful not to forget the covenant of the Lord your God that he made with you. Do not make for yourselves an idol in the form of anything the Lord your God has forbidden. For the Lord your God is a consuming fire, a jealous God. So pretty much the same thing. Don't make an idol. But mankind wants, it's like there's this natural instinct in man to make idols. And God says, don't make idols. I do not exist in idol form. I exist out there. I'm behind everything that you want to worship. I'm the one you should worship. Anything that you can make or create or see or touch or feel or whatever that you want to worship, don't. Worship me behind all of that stuff. And I am a jealous God. Okie dokie. All right. Do you hear my train? There's a train coming. Verse 25. After you have had children and grandchildren and have lived in the land a long time, if you then become corrupt and make any kind of idol, doing evil in the eyes of the Lord your God and arousing his anger, I call the heavens and the earth as witnesses against you this day that you will quickly perish from the land that you are crossing the Jordan to possess. You will not live there long, but will certainly be destroyed. The Lord will scatter you among the peoples, and only a few of you will survive among the nations to which the Lord will drive you. There you will worship man-made gods and wood and stone, which cannot see or hear or eat or smell. But if from there you seek the Lord your God, you will find him. If you seek him with all your heart and with all your soul, when you are in distress and all these things have happened to you, then in later days you will return to the Lord your God and obey him. For the Lord your God is a merciful God. He will not abandon or destroy you or forget the covenant with your ancestors, which he confirmed to them by oath. So he basically says that if you follow my decrees and my commandments, it will go well with you and you will survive. But if you don't, you will be destroyed. You'll be scattered. Now, just jumping forward a few hundred years, what does happen? Well, yes, the Assyrians come and conquer them to the north, the Babylonians to the south, and they get scattered. And all of this because they don't keep the law, because the nation falls away from God, and rather quickly, I might add. You would think that it would take generations and generations for this to happen, but it doesn't. It happens within a few generations that Israel falls completely apart, that turns away from God. Now, there are periods of time when they repent, they read the law again and say, we'll live this way, but it's short-lived. And eventually the whole nation goes away. And it's not until Jesus comes to renew the nation of Israel to be the fulfillment of the Old Testament. But they do not do this. That's unfortunate. I would have loved, I wonder what history would have looked like if it had just followed God's law and lived according to God's law. All right. Verse 32. Ask now about the former days, long before your time, from the day God created human beings on the earth. Ask from one end of the heavens to the other, has anything so great as this ever happened, or has anything like it been heard of? Has any other people heard the voice of God speaking out of fire as you have lived? Has any God ever tried to take for himself one nation out of another nation by testing, by signs and wonders, by war, by a mighty hand and an outstretched arm, or by great and awesome deeds, like all the things the Lord your God did for you in Egypt before your very eyes? You were shown these things so that you might know that the Lord is God. Besides him, there is no other. From heaven, he made you hear his voice to discipline you. On earth, he showed you his great fire, and you heard his words from out of the fire, because he loved your ancestors and chose their descendants after them. He begged you out of Egypt by his presence and his great strength, to drive out before you nations greater and stronger than you, and to bring you into their land, to give you their inheritance for you an inheritance as it is today. God points out that he brought them out of slavery in Egypt. Let me just read this last bit on verse 39. Acknowledge and take to heart this day that the Lord is God in heaven above and on earth below. There is no other. Keep his decrees and commands, which I am giving you today, so that it may go well with you and your children after you, that you may live long in the land the Lord your God gives you for all time. Okay, so this it is not hard to come to the conclusion that there's a creator. As a matter of fact, if you want to make an argument for God, then what you say is, where did all this come from? And who created the earth and the heavens and all this beauty? Where did all that come from? And there will be various answers, but nobody can say that it came from nothing. That if you have a universe, somebody had to have created the universe. And who is the creator of the universe? Well, that's the creator behind the universe. This is what God has been saying. Now, this is a hard thing. People want to say, no, it happened in another way. But tell me what the other way is. And they'll say, well, we can't. We don't know the mechanics of it. We'll never know the mechanics of it. And it's like, aha, well, there's a God behind the creator of the universe. This is the natural view. Just by looking at God, by looking at the universe, you can come to the conclusion that God was behind the creation of the universe. That one there is no other explanation except for God. Okay, so put that to the side. But then the other thing is, can we know this God? Has this God ever made himself known and to be present among us? And what Moses is saying is that yes, he came in a burning bush and he rescued one nation out of another. And he was able to take the smaller nation and rescue them from the larger, stronger nation. And this was when God appeared before Israel. Because when he came to Abraham and to Jacob and all the different ways that God has revealed himself to individual people, and even to Moses in the burning bush, there was no proof that this is the God until he rescued them out of slavery in Egypt. And if you are a Jewish person, you would look at this rescue from slavery as being the pivotal moment where God revealed himself and did a miraculous thing. And all of that was before God became flesh and dwelt among us in the flesh in the form of Jesus, which is the miraculous thing. Everything in the Old Testament points towards that. Everything in the New Testament looks back at this event, which is God becoming flesh. And for the Jewish people at the time of Moses, this rescue from slavery from Egypt is the pivotal moment of God's revealing himself to mankind up until the point of Moses. And then it's Jesus. And Moses wants people to remember that. This is proof for Moses, for this time in history, the rescue from slavery in Egypt is the time when they point to that time and say, this proves to us that God exists. Because what other God could do this? What other God could rescue us out of slavery in Egypt? Let us cross the sea, watch over us with the manna and the water and all the things that it did as we wandered in the wilderness. And now we're about to take the promised land, which is this God giving us this land. All right. I think so there's actually two, and they're both addressed. There's two things that you have to wrap your head around. One is that there is a God, and the second one is that if there is a God, that God is the one that rescued us out of slavery in Egypt, which is Yahweh. Those are the two. And in the 60s, but before the 60s, pretty much everyone acknowledged that there was a God. And the vast majority of people in the United States acknowledge that the God is the one that created the heavens and the earth as depicted in the Old Testament. That was pretty much standard language for people here. And then in the 60s, because of lobbying by various people, they said, we can't talk about God. We can't have a defined religion, and so we can't talk about it at all. And so what happened is that the whole discussion about God came out of the schooling in the United States. You couldn't talk about God as the creator of the universe, and you couldn't talk about Yahweh as being that God and the creator of the universe, twofold. And over the last 70 years, we've realized that this is a very dangerous way to live. That if there is no God, then there is no rule, there is nothing, it's every man for himself, it causes deep problems in society. And there are those who want to go back to this. And there's two ways. One is you can say it's Yahweh, or the other one you can say is look at the universe and just say that there's a God. You don't have to pinpoint which God it is. This is called intelligent design. And there are those who are trying to bring the concept of God back into the public lexicon by saying that there is a creator. And there's a lot of resistance to that too. But that would be a good first step if everybody would simply acknowledge that there's a creator. But that will never happen because there's too many people entrenched in the idea that there can't be a creator. It is impossible, that what we see is all there is and there's nothing behind the creation that we see. And that's unfortunate because I don't think the logical position is that all of this stuff came out by itself. The universe exists. It had to have come from somewhere. The logical explanation for the universe is that somebody created it, that it came. But there are those who just simply can't wrap their hand around that. So it's unfortunate. And we will have this debate forever. But once you go down the path of seeing there's a creator, then eventually you'll end up at Jesus. There's just you can't. For me, you end up at Jesus. Then once you end up at Jesus, life is abundant and full and wonderful. But for people, it's a journey to get there, which I understand. All right, man, my nose is itching. All right, let us go to verse 41. Then Moses set aside 3 cities east of the Jordan, to which anyone who had killed a person could flee if they unintentionally killed a neighbor without malice aforethought. They could flee into one of these cities and save their life. The cities were these: Bezer in the wilderness plateau for the Reubenites, Ramoth in Gilead for the Gadites, and Golan in Bashan for the Manassites. So remember, God said you have to create sanctuary cities. And these are cities that if you accidentally kill somebody, you can, until your trial happens, you can flee into the sanctuary city and you can live there until the priest dies, and then you can come back. If you're guilty, I mean, if there's 2 or 3 witnesses that saw you do the crime intentionally, then the punishment has to be there immediately. If you kill somebody, you strike them over the head with a stick and they die, and 10 people saw you do it, well, then you're going to be put to death right on the spot. But if it's an accidental thing and nobody saw you and you say, hey, this is an accident, you can flee into the sanctuary city. You can live there, but then until the priest dies. And then once the priest in your old city dies, then you can go back. And that's kind of the system that God set up. But now that they're on the east side of the Jordan River, and we know that the Reubenites and the Gadites and half of the Manassites will live on the east side of the Jordan River, God set up 3 cities through Moses. And these are the cities: Bezer, Ramoth, and Gilead, and the Gadites. And people can flee to these locations. All right. Now we're going to get to the law, but it is time to wait till tomorrow to bring in the law. So 444. Oh, 444. That's kind of cool. All right. So we'll leave it there, and we'll pick up the story in tomorrow's episode. Let's close in prayer. Gracious God, thanks for this day, and thanks for watching over us. Be with us until we meet again. In Jesus' name, amen. All right, so thank you all, you joining me online and listening to my chipmunk voice. I think this is
The chipmunk voice is this one.
And then if I press this button,
it becomes the God voice, Moses.
All right. I was trying to fix my setup and accidentally pressed that button, and I thought that was weird. All right. So we'll meet tomorrow, and I pray that God blesses your day. Thanks for joining me, and we'll see you later. God's blessings. Bye.